everyone, this is Anita White with Love Your Art, and we're back today with another video. But this time we have something by special request, and I am here to share with you. This is an informative video and it's a demonstration video at the same time. And what we will be doing is sharing with you how I went about making these pieces. These are coasters, or they soon will be coasters. I posted them on a couple of my private Facebook groups. I was actually just experimenting because it's been a while since I've actually played around with doing blooms or swipes, and I had quite a bit of an overwhelming request for a demonstration of what I actually did. These are dried. They do not have any finish on them. They have a glossy finish because of the semi-gloss paint that we use, but there's no final finish like resin or varnish on them. So I'm going to be spending some time with you today, giving you step by step what I did to prepare my medium, how I went about actually measuring everything, and how I make these paints up. The second half of this same video, so this will be a little longer than normal, will be me actually painting with the paints that we used in preparing for this. And I want to be specific about this. I will be using paints that I used for these particular designs, because the ones I'm going to be making today, they will need to rest for at least 24 hours so air bubbles can come out of them. So let me just kind of go step by step and explain what our products are and what our process is. I ask you to be patient with me and understand that I'm sharing this as though this is brand new for many people. If you know a lot of these things, of course, you could fast forward and get to whatever you might be interested in. First point of communication I want to give you is to wear gloves. You're going to be dealing with actual pigments, and you don't want to have that stuff on your hands. So definitely wear gloves. Wear a mask or a respirator to help you with breathing in, because you're going to be breathing in some pigments. I actually have on a mask right now, not a respirator, but I own one. I'm in a well-ventilated room, and you need to be in one as well. Those are just some helpful tips for protecting yourself. So let's get to it. What do I use for putting together these beautiful colors, and how do we get to this outcome? First and foremost, I want to say I've used in these particular paintings the ColourArte paints, and I'm not an affiliate of ColourArte, but there's a variety of ColourArte paints that you can get, and I also use the this little Piggy paints. Those are the only two brands that I use to get to the colors of the coasters that I posted on my Facebook groups. Today, I will be mixing a different one in addition to the ColourArte and the little Piggy. This little Piggy, I'm using the Pearl X, and I'll be mixing some of those today. I will not mix every single paint on camera, but I want to give you enough of an idea of how it's done so that you can feel very comfortable with the process on your own. So essentially what you need are just 3 products, and I want to share with you what I mean by that. I will say 3 and 4, meaning that you actually have to have paint. Paint to mixture, Cell Activator. So you need a mixing paint or pouring medium, and I use this, and this is a big one. Please know that you can get different paints, but this is the one that's working for me. This is the Glidden Premium interior paint and primer. It's a semi-gloss in color, number GLN 6413N, base 3. Now it says must be tinted. When I bought this at Home Depot, and I will list everything in the description box, so if you miss something, don't be alarmed. I don't have them shake this up. I just buy it just off the shelf like this. It's about $24 at Home Depot. I also take with me, or with that, I open it and I use a mixer like this, gently stirring it just to mix the paint so that you can see the oil and the paint that come together. I then pour it into a container, and that's what this is, for ease. No mixing additives to this. Nothing but stir gently on your own. Okay, that is the base color or pillow paint, as well as the paint that I'll be applying in each of the little containers you see before me. Now, I want to say this as a disclaimer. I saw and have seen several videos on the Shelee art technique. I've taken the course. I've seen and purchased multiple supplies, and many to no avail. But I watched Christine Creations, and she did a similar demonstration of these products with this little Piggy. I modified what she's done to work for me, and it's simply mostly measuring. She does not measure. Some people are so good at it and they're skilled that they don't need to measure. They can eyeball it, and you'll get there, I'm sure, as well. But I want to be clear, I am modifying what she did, and I'm also making it so that it works for me. The next product that you will need is the Chroma's JoSonja's Gloss Varnish. This I purchased for about 20 bucks. This is a clear varnish that I purchased off of Amazon, and it lasts forever. You're only going to need a pea-size amount of this varnish. Okay, and you'll see exactly what I mean in just a few moments. So, in addition, as an FYI, not having been used in these particular ones, you can also use as a pillow paint. Christine uses this, I think, sometimes too. This is the Glidden Premium Satin paint. It's in pure white. Now, I did not use it in the samples I had before me. I'm going to try to use one today when we do our demo. Again, don't have them shake it, just purchase it, use your paint stir stick and stir it up gently and pour it into a container for ease. So right now, this will be set aside. We'll be using that part during the second part of the video. The next product I have, which many of you may not have, and you know it's expensive. This is the Australian Floatron. It's a tiny bottle. There's different people who sell it, eBay, different people in America also sell it now too. So it's a little expensive, but you use very little. Now that is essential. The price, don't let it disturb you. Don't let it dissuade you, because it's what helps. It helps you to get the cells and the reaction that you need in the paint that the American Floetrol will not do as well. So you need that, and then you need a color. And I use Amsterdam colors. This happens to be the titanium white. And these two products, the Floetrol and the Amsterdam product paint, is only used for your Cell Activator. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. It's easier to show you than to explain it. So here we have, I purchased cups from the Dollar Tree. They come in packs of 10, and now they're $1.25 since Dollar Tree's gone up. But I have the square ones for my ColourArte pigments that I mix up. I also have purchased the same, the same product in the round cup, and this one is used for this little piggy, and that's just my organization preference. Okay, so today I also have one additional thing, and I purchased this from ColourArte. These are the little baby cups, the baby food cups. I think there's a pack of 8 here. And these are from the same place you purchased this little piggy pigments. That's for about $10, and that's over here. I'm going to be using the Pearl X pigments in that particular container. First thing I do is I take one of my Dollar Tree containers like this. After I have separated my paint and put it in containers, you'll see that this is the Glidden Semi-Gloss Base 3. I also have the same thing in a smaller container, and you'll see why in just a moment. You can maybe figure out how to do that easier. But I take the little container first. I write the name of the color on with a permanent marker onto the lid so that I have that part of the process taken care of. When I get down to the end, I'm not having to worry about what color went with what lid and that kind of thing. It helps me to stay organized, and it helps me to look at these once I put them away and find them a lot easier. This particular one is Mango Mamba. And I'm going to just go ahead and take and show you how I measure the paint out. This is the semi-gloss house paint right here, the Glidden, in a smaller container. And for those of you who like measurements, this is going to help you. This is a 1/4 cup, which is not what we're using for the paints to go in here. We will use that for our tile. I'm using a tablespoon, and I put 3 tablespoons of the house paint right into the container. That's 1. I hope you can see this. Let me move this up so you can see. Maybe we can come here, move these aside. Get here. All right, can you see that? Move that back. All right, so we have 1 tablespoon. This is the semi-gloss house paint only, nothing in it. 2 tablespoons. And this is 3 tablespoons. That's giving me about 3/4 of a full cup, a container. Now, Christine Creations uses about half of a container. The reason I wanted to put more in there, and again, I was doing this by way of experiment, so I wasn't sure how things were going to come out, so I didn't videotape it. I wanted to be sure that I could do it with some modification. And one of those major modifications to help me and others would be to measure. So I measured out about 3/4 of the container to be full, and that actually is 3 tablespoons for those of you who want the measurement. Then I have these little sampling scoops, and those are Hanbei, and you get 100 of these on Amazon for about almost $8.50. And they're wonderful because you can open up your little pigment container. Again, it's going to have a lot of that little powdery stuff floating out, and that's why you want to have a mask on. And then you can take this right into your container and kind of level it out. That way you're not wasting a lot of pigment. I just kind of level it out with a little thick level. And I put 2 scoops in there, like so. And I'm going to make sure that I'm getting that as far as I need to incorporate into the container. And I set that aside, and I go ahead and I'll pour out my measurement of 3 for each of these. I do all the paint first. I'm just going to do these 2 of the ColourArte for now, and then I'm going to add 2 of the Little Miss Piggy. I don't actually have any Little Miss Piggy that I need to mix up. I'm just going to make some existing colors so you can see that they do mix very well with the same paint, and that would be the Harvest Gold. This is this Little Miss Piggy, and the Submarine Yellow. And there again, they're placed in the round containers. I will not be putting the lids, the labels on these lids, because I already have these made up in another container. I'm just going to be replacing it with the new paint. Again, this is 3 tablespoons, or about 3/4 full of your container, with just the house paint, nothing else added. Okay, we'll do this one as well. Just want you to be able to see how the Little Miss Piggy paints mix really well with just plain paint, house paint. Semi-gloss in this case. Same recipe. Okay. All right, here we go. Now we're going to take, I'm just going to do this interference. This is the reason I wanted to do this ColourArte interference blue is because I had the question asked, how do you get the blurred effect on the paints here? There's a better example of it, how the fading out sort of coloring of the pink in there comes about. That's because of the interference colors. And so I thought I would mix one that had the interference colors and one that had just the regular. And I'll do these others later off camera. Again, taking 2 level scoops. And I say level because you want to reserve as much of your pigment for long time use. At least I do. These are not cheap, and so you want to take and be pretty frugal with them. All right, so once that happens, we got our paint colors into our pigments into our paint. I let them literally set for a minute as I'm doing all of these so that they can start to dissolve. And I can go back and do the same steps each time with each paint, not having to start all over again. And it helps me to stay a little bit more organized too when I do it that way. This is the submarine color, and this again is the Little Miss Piggy. Very pretty colors. And this little scoop, you don't have to have this, but it's about a 1 centimeter measurement, and it does help to really just get the right amount for the kind of color that I want. So we'll set those aside, and we will allow them to start taking form in the cups. Everything's done in a step-by-step process. This first color, again, was the Mango Mamba, and I'm going to stir this up. You want to get the pigments as incorporated as possible. You don't want a granular effect. And part of the reason you should wait at least 24 hours, I waited longer actually, about 36 hours or so before I use them, because not all paints are alike. Some will incorporate into the paint very well, very quickly, like this one seems to be doing, and it may be more ready to go than others, but the air bubbles is the main thing that you're looking at. You want to make sure those air bubbles are out, and I hope you can see what I'm doing here, mixing it. Looking at, this is just house paint, the semi-gloss house paint with 2 scoops of your pigment. Now, I'm going to stir these really quick and then tell you what our next steps will be. Some of these require a lot more stirring than others, but it's just a matter of trying to get as much incorporated from the pigment into the paint as possible. And with this little Piggy, you're going to find that they don't look just like the color that they are showing from the actual container. When you initially paint or mix the paint together with them, they look sometimes a little lighter, sometimes the color is way off, but they eventually will get to the color that you've purchased, pretty much. So that's the Submarine Yellow. I need to remember to look and make sure I am putting this in frame, sorry. Here's the interference blue. Just mixing this in. And these interference colors are absolutely fantastic. They do an amazing job. Even though it says interference blue, you won't really see the blue, but there's blue pigmentation into this paint, into this pigment that will show up into your paint colors as you apply them with the other colors. Again, we will not be using these actual colors in the demonstration of how to actually go about getting these down on a tile. We will be using some that have already been prepared, that have already been sitting for more than a day, and they are ready to go. This has a little bit more grittiness to it. See if you can see the little grit. And that's one of the reasons why all paints aren't created equal. You need to work at making sure you stir real well, and then you need to make sure that you let it sit with the lid on it overnight or longer. This is the Bling It series, and it's gorgeous. It's worth the investment in terms of what the outcome you receive. Now I have little fragments of pigments all over my gloves, so that is also another reason why you need to be certain to wear gloves, because that would be all over my hands right now. Okay, I'm going to put these down and have one more, and hopefully I can do this in frame. I'm so sorry, I'm not paying attention. This is stirring up the Harvest Gold, and this was used in the ones that I have, the tiles that I have below. It is a gorgeous color. It does amazing work in terms of giving you outcomes that are great. But again, very grainy and requires a lot of allowing that pigment to come to dissolve and to really get incorporated into the house paint. I want to emphasize again, nothing but the pigments, 2 scoops of pigment to about 3 tablespoons of house paint have been applied in each of these cups so far. There's one more step, and this is super, super easy and super, super important. So we'll put the pigments down that we've already used, and we'll talk about what we haven't used. and that's this special one. We need to put a pea size. Everyone knows what a pea, the vegetable pea, looks like. That's what we're talking when we say pea size. A pea size drop of JoSonja gloss varnish into each of the containers. Here's what I mean. That is a pea size. Let's see if you can see it better on the yellow. Okay. And that's the last of the 4 that we're doing right now. That's all you need. And you can see that would last forever. Now, once you put that in there, you're going to have a better ease in terms of stirring, because it just really kind of dissolves and kind of liquefies, I guess, the rest of the paint, making it a lot smoother. You can see how creamy that's getting. Still needs to sit and get some of that grittiness out of the paint itself, because you don't want that applied to your canvas or to your coasters or whatever you're making, because it will show nothing but grit. But waiting for 24 hours plus time, you can see this yellow one, there you go, with the gloss varnish, really making a difference in when you stir. You can feel the difference on that. It's very creamy, makes it a lot easier, helps with getting that gritty pigment out. Apologize for the phone, but it's telemarketer time, I guess. And then we have the yellow from this little Piggy. Okay, this little Piggy incorporates very well. Very nice and smooth. You can see those air bubbles though, they need to be dissolved. And letting it rest will allow that to happen. Okay? And this again is that beautiful Harvest Gold. It looks sort of brownish or kind of tannish, but it comes out very beautiful. All right, so we got that nicely incorporated into, but you want to do this first. You want to mix just your house paint and your pigments together before you add the pea size amount of varnish. Okay, so once that is done, you've got them all nice and incorporated in terms of mixing as well as you want to mix them for now. Then you go ahead and put the lid on and let them sit for at least 24 hours. As I said, for these coasters that I was playing around with, I did probably 36, 48 hours. I can't recall, but it was definitely more than one day. And once you put the lid on there, then you have an idea of what they are without having to go back and write any more information. They're ready to go. So that's what we do. I'm just going to set this on top since I didn't write the number on that. It's going to be filled. Same here. So we have one more that I'm going to do because it's new to me and I want to see how it turns out. And that's with the baby food cups. I already went ahead and poured the house paint in there, filling it up to the mark that's here, right here. And I'm going to try this Solar Gold, again using the same 2 scoops. And this is a different one, a different brand, the Pearl X brand. Putting the 2 scoops in just like so. And then I'm going to take and stir that in. And hopefully this will incorporate just as well as this little Piggy and the ColourArte Pigments. And we can see some beautiful colors here. And then we have one critical step that's left. And that is that of making the Cell Activator. Again, I want to say that it's important to note that not all paints are created equal. They all have different pigmentations, and some are easier to work with than others. And I'm merely feeling just the difference in this particular one feels so much thicker than the others do. Now that's the initial feeling. It's a beautiful gold. You can see that rich, thick gold. It's very thick. Same paint, but definitely a different texture in terms of its feel. Now I'm going to go ahead and put that pea-sized drop of varnish in here and see if that helps to give me a lot more of a smoother flow with stirring. And it is. It's working. It's a lot easier. It's not as thick. It's still thick, but not as thick. And this is the Pearl X. I think it's called Solar Gold. Yes. All right, so we're going to put this lid down, and we're going to manage to go ahead and take the next step, which is the Cell Activator. All right. Close that up. Put that there. All right, Cell Activator. We'll leave these out for off camera. All right, real important with the Cell Activator. I have a container that I use, and you can use whatever you want. But this I purchased from Amazon. I'm actually from Michael's for $2. And these are individual colored square cubes that can fit inside here. I've labeled them with the different color Cell Activators that I want, or that I'll be using. I went ahead and started mixing the Cell Activator here. It's already ready. You can see here, this is Amsterdam Titanium White mixed with the Australian Floetrol. And when it has that little stickiness, when it bounces back like that, you know it's ready. Okay, so that one's pre-done, but I want to do one on camera for you, and I'm going to use my lamp black, which is what I used on these particular tiles. And that's this right here, the lamp black by Amsterdam and the Floetrol, just those two products. And you need a tablespoon. I do shake mine up. And what I like to do is put in 1 tablespoon of the let's see, Australian Floetrol first. And I'll show you why. Let's see here. Get my hands out. I'm going to put in 1 tablespoon. There'll be a total of 3 tablespoons. Some people use 4. I'm not tried 4, but I know 3 works. And when you're trying to be conservative with your product, I usually put my little cap down, put my tablespoon on top of it and let it rest. open up my paint, use this to hold it down to get my tablespoon of Amsterdam paint color in there. Okay. And because that liquid has already been in there, it's going to make this come out really easy. Because I did 1 tablespoon of the Amsterdam, or the actual, I'm sorry, of the the Australian Floetrol. This is going to slide right on out, making that a whole lot easier to have to deal with, especially when you're dealing with the color black or dark colors. So that's making that a lot easier for me. I also want to mention that I'm using these little panna sticks from Amsterdam. These are about 50 sticks. They're makeup sticks, spatulas, and they are reusable, and they are very, very functional in helping with everything that's paint related. So I'm not an affiliate of any of these products. Just want to share with you what I use. I will list them in the description box because people ask, and you just want to be helpful. So if that helps somebody, great. Okay, that was 1 tablespoon of the Australian Floetrol. Now we have 1 tablespoon of black Amsterdam paint, and then we're going to add another tablespoon . That's 2 tablespoons, and our final tablespoon is going to be now. And this is a cell activator that we use for this process. If you're new, this is probably not making a lot of sense just yet, but CA stands for Cell Activator, and it will be used when we actually put down our paint onto the tile, and then we use the Cell Activator to go over those paints to get the effect. So, more about that specifically later, but I wanted to show you on camera how these products are put together and used, because people have a hard time visualizing things that they cannot see when they're really, really tangible sometimes. So this is a very tangible, hands-on type of process, and it does require some explanation and demonstration. And you want to stir your colors. Now, some people may do this differently, and that's certainly a personal choice. Like I said, some people actually go so far as to put 4 tablespoons of the Australian Floetrol. I know 3 works, so why use 4? That's just my personal choice. All right, so we're stirring this up very well. You need to mix it very, very, very well, scraping the sides and the bottom. And again, that's why this little panna makeup spade stir stick really does work well. What I like about these is they don't leave any wood fiber. They're reusable, wipe clean very well. I have 2 bags, but I've never opened the other one. I'm still using the 50 that I started off using. So, just a helpful hint for what might work. And also these containers that I'm using, these are 2 for $1 at Dollar Tree, that particular one. This is Dollar Tree with the little spout and handle. You can find things that might work for you. You probably have something around the house. Doesn't have to be a brand new container, it just needs to be clean and usable. And that's so that you don't have to lift this big heavy can every time you go to pour into these little tiny cups or whatever container you choose to use. I was using these little 4-ounce cups with the plastic lid on them. And they are wonderful if you are not needing to use the lid, because you're going to have to wipe the lid around it and they break sometimes. It's just a lot easier for me to have a plastic lid on a plastic container. But you can reuse those plastic containers, or you can toss them. They're $1 for 10. If you choose to not waste any time cleaning them out and reusing, then that's a choice. Okay, we want to show you how this should look, because this is also going to be used. You can use a Cell Activator pretty much right away, but I'm going to be using the one I already had made. It makes a little trace into the container, and then it has that little bouncy drip like that. That gives you a chance to see that, yeah, I'm good, I'm ready to go. You can see that from the side there. All right, so that's just about good to go. And what we'll be doing is just a quick review, and then we'll go on to the second half of the video. All right, so I'm going to move that out the way, put the lid on. Where did I move my light? Put the lid on this and set these aside. I didn't use white Cell Activator on any of the ones that I showed on my YouTube, or actually my Facebook art groups, but I did make some up because white is one of the more popular colors, so I'll try using that today. Let's review real quick. You want your Glidden Premium, not the Elements. There's another one. Always get the Glidden Premium, and this is the semi-gloss base 3. That's what you use on your in your container, and I use 3 tablespoons of that for these size containers. I use 2 scoops of the pigment. Any pigment that you want, it works for them. 2 scoops of that. Stir real well. Add a pea-size amount of the JoSonja gloss varnish. Stir real well and store. For the Australian Floetrol, 3 tablespoons to 1 tablespoon of Amsterdam Paint. You can use any color of Amsterdam, and you're going to be successful with that. All right, so we'll pause for now until we can go back and get ready, reset up everything to actually pour. So hang in there with us. All right, everyone, we're back. This is Anita White with Love Your Art, and we are going to continue with our Shelee art technique. We have our little lagoon. We have our cake turner. It's been covered with a shower cap from Dollar Tree, and we have our 4x4 inch tile. Now, I want to just quickly say to you, we're using the Glidden House Paint Semi-Gloss Base 3. It's in this container. And I'm going to be using, by way of measurement, I'm going to use the 1/4 cup, 1/4 cup of paint. And it is the same paint that we use to mix all of our colors in. And we're going to use, for the sake of helping to measure things and give people a better sense of what needs to be used, this is our pillow paint. This is the base. So I'm just going to pour that down and let it spread all around, giving it a chance to go to the outside edges as well. Now that's a 1/4 cup. You may get away with a little less than that, or depends on what you like. I kind of like to get the ends done and get it all in. And I give it just a little spin to get it all leveled. Okay, and we set that aside, and I'm going to go through some colors that we're using. We're using some that I did not use for the coasters that I showed, these are the ones we're working on now, but we are going to be using ColourArte and this little Piggy colors. Some of them were used in the previous colors that we used for those coasters. Others are brand new. But these have been sitting for at least 24 hours. I'm just going to go ahead and show you how I try to get colors down. Try to bring them as close to the inside of the center as possible when I'm making a design. This one happens to be green tea. I'm going to put on top of green, and that's ColourArte. This is raspberry wine. And I'm going to be putting, I'm not really sure if I'll use 4 or 5 colors, that we'll see. The next one is, let's do a TLP. I'm going to use Nightfall, which is this little Piggy. You could pour these right on if you want. I try to use, since this is just a little high for me, I try to use the stir stick to assist. Okay, and I'm going to try some of the Submarine Yellow by TLP as well. This one was used in those previous colors. It's gotten a little thick, but we're going to see what happens with it. So that would be the submarine color. The other one I'm going to be using is a TLP. This is the Harvest Gold, which was used and turned out beautifully with the coasters that we posted. Okay. Just getting this all in. And I'm going to be using different cell activators, but the one I'm using for this first coaster will be the Lamp Black by Amsterdam. And it was some that was left over. I said this container I don't like using because it does tend to get paint on the top and then you have the lid problem. So I'm going to try to use different containers now. This is my cell activator, and you want to use this to swipe with. So let's try a swiping tool. I have this one, and what I will do is just take and put some of the cell activator onto the back side. Just pour some of that right on out. Maybe a little much, so I'm going to pour some back in. Okay, and the idea here is to try to swipe these colors. I'm going to go around gently. See what happens. Pick that up. Making some beautiful, beautiful cells right away. And that's why you need the Amsterdam Cell Activator Floetrol, because it really does activate the cells. Now, before I even spend mine, I did some wrecking on it, especially where there's colors that I don't necessarily like. And you can also go back over this. For example, I would go back and put a little bit more here where my swiping tool was lifting. And you can put these colors in any order that you want. I'm not going to put a lot in there, but you can see we got different size cells developing. one here. Let's see if I can swipe that again. A little more of the purple. Okay, and that's good. We'll put some, I change my tools up too. I use whatever I can use. I'm going to use this spoon. See if I can go over this edge. Actually, I need something smaller because I'm hitting the back side. So let's see if we can swipe with the stir stick. You can use different tools. You can use plastic, whatever works. Okay. See what happens with that. And we're getting some reaction. Not as much as I want it, but we're getting some reaction. It's coming. In the meantime, I'm going to take my extra long diamond toothpicks. I use those to wreck with, and I'll take my design from inside, for example, here. One of the things I am trying to do, oops, that one broke, is trying to reach those areas where there is a lot of cell activator left. Or there's a lot of paint left. And I'm making quite a few swirls on this one, which is okay. I hope. We'll see. I hope you can see this, because I'm going to take what I can to make the best out of this design. I don't mind having some white in the center, but I usually try to pull it out to the edges. And I swirl it. This is I had this I used my little lagoon. There we go. And we're twirling it. And it's going over the edge good. And we're going to go to the inside. Okay, let's keep it still. It's better if I'm not using my, this particular spinner. I used a metal one, but I do like this one. I like it when it's working to paint on the inside of the tub, rather than having to put extra protections out, since I don't have a pool. But this is coming out nicely, and I spin as much as I want, because you can overspin. Oops, you can overspin, but as long as you're liking what you see, I don't see anything wrong with it. We're trying to get to the edges. This was not where I wanted this to go, but it's doing great. My spinner's not doing the best, but I can tell you right now this is doing great on. And I wanted to use I like to use this spinner, but I don't like using it in this tub. When I'm demonstrating, I do like it because I can lift it out and show you, like so. Okay, so that is quite beautiful. I think I'm going to stop there. I'm liking what I see. You can see those colors are blended very well together, and the design is just quite creative. And I take my little cup and spatula, gently lift this off. I'm taking the tape with me this time. You can see that's really pretty. I'm just going to leave that tape on there for now. All right, this is time consuming, as you can see. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to put a little bit more tape on here, and I want to try the the satin. Actually, it's a satin white. I didn't use that in the other ones, but at least you get a chance to see what the satin white may look like if you elect to use the satin white as an option. Let's go ahead and do that. This is the same Glidden Premium Satin Base 1 house paint. The other one is a base 3. Okay? And you can pick and choose how many different colors you want to use. That's with a black Cell Activator. This is going to be pure white. And we want to try measuring that for you. Okay. Once you get the hang of it, you won't need a measuring tool. You'll just need to pour it out the way you want it and go from there. I did the measuring for the sake of the video to help those who really don't have a knowledge level of all of the different options. As you can see, I can lift this spinner up. I like it because it's versatile. And I'm able to allow my paint colors to move a little bit on the tile and level out. I try to spin it enough so that the paint is not so heavy onto the tile, left onto the tile, so that it can dry without cracking. And then I want these edges tapped so that the corners, the paint goes right on off. This little lagoon that I have this end is so helpful for keeping things nice and clean, and you don't have to deal with cleanup so much. I purchased that from from Amazon as well. All right, we're gonna try some, how about we do this beautiful Mandarin blush. I'm gonna try to go more in the center on this one, just typical circle effect. This is ColourArte and it's Mandarin blush. This is ColourArte Interference Green, and this is a clear color, sparkly, beautiful. Love these interference colors. And I'm going to put that right on top of that Mandarin blush. I'm going to do some indigo waves, and this is TLP, this little piggy. I will say that the Mandarin blush was mixed real easy. Some of these colors are a lot more difficult to mix, meaning the pigment doesn't go real well with it, and it's harder to dissolve. I would say that the ColourArtes dissolve a lot easier and better consistently than I've noticed with the TLPs. I'm also going to add some ColourArte. This is beautiful sparkle gold, so this is going to just be really sparkly. This one should be. Let's get some dark color on that too, since we do have some lighter colors in there. Okay. I think since I have light colors, I'm still going to use a dark Cell 'Activator. And then this one, We'll see if we can't swipe across here. A little harder to do. Flip it. You want to do this gently and slightly across. Okay. That's really pretty. It's a black cell activator that we're using. The Lamp Black by Amsterdam. I'm going to turn this around and get some more of this color in. And let's see what we can do with just a little more on that side. You can create whatever designs you like. I tend to, with this, I'm okay with creating a design or not creating a design, because since I'm going to wreck them with the toothpick, I'm not really caring about so much that design. I'm looking to go to areas that are heavily populated with the Cell Activator. So that I don't have this extra dark markings or even the extra painting. This is really going to be pretty. Okay, and I'm going to try to see if there may be just an area here that I could work with. And here. You don't have to do as many as I'm doing. It's just a matter of choice. Okay, I'm going to try to turn this as best I can. But typically you would have a spinner that's going to spin short little spins, not real heavy. You don't want paint flying too fast off the canvas. This is really pretty. And you can go in the opposite direction as well. When I spent this before, I didn't have to do with, that's really coming out. And you can continue to work on it. I had found myself going in and working on areas like here that I want to maybe pull out, even here. It's just really going to add more character to your design. Got to be careful not to drip any paint from your hands or other tools back onto your tile when you're touching the spinner. Okay, let's do an opposite direction. Wow, look at that. Oh wow, wonderful. Okay, how about we take a pause on that one and just take and lift it up. You can see here how that came out. Really pretty. it's even prettier when it's close up. You can see the sparkles from all of the sparkle gold, the interference green. Really, really pretty. Okay, we're going to try to get this one up. Hopefully we can leave the tape down. If not, we'll take it up too. Oh well, we got the tape again. Now that one was with the satin base. So you have one with satin, one with semi-gloss. And when they dry, we can see which one would be the preferred choice. I recommend that if you're going to use this, start with the quart size on both of these. But know that the gallon size goes very quickly. If you're using a gallon size and you're doing a lot of coasters, it's going to go very quickly. So you might want to just go ahead and get the gallon. But if you're starting out, you want to start maybe reasonably pricing things and keeping within a budget. You might want to just go with the quart size to begin with until you can see if it works for you. I'm sharing what works for me. I hope it works for you as well. But just know that you have to find your way with these. Measuring is something that a lot of people don't do, and they eyeball it because perhaps they're used to getting where they want to go with that a lot without having to measure. But for the sake of this video and for assisting those of you who are new, or those of you who want to try this method because you're not happy with what you've been using, this has worked for me. So I'm going to be doing one more, and I'm going to use a different color Cell Activator, going back to the semi-white paint. Hope you can stick around and let's see this one through. Thank you for your patience. And again, I'm pouring this out now like I would do. And you can do it this way as well, just to get things going. Pulling that out to the edges. And when you spin it, you're making sure that it kind of doesn't gather up at the top and in the center so much. You're giving it a chance to level out. And that way you avoid the cracking. All right, we're going to try just a center piece, again with this Mandarin in the middle. Just I'm going to go with some interference green. No, let's do the Indio Glaze on top of that. All right. I'm going to do some TLP shimmer. I'm also going to do some Harvest Gold from TLP. I'll try the green tea again with ColourArte. I'll also try the, let's do the Submarine. And I'm going to put on here on top some permanent blue violet. But I think I'll add some Gold Sparkle by ColourArte first. Okay, and that would be this. This is the Amsterdam Permanent Blue Violet, again mixed with 3:1. And we will definitely list everything that we have by way of our colors into the description box so you can refer to all of this information. I know it's a lot of information. I know this is a long video, but I wanted to try to help you as much as I could. I did this video by request, and I hope that it's been helpful to you. And if you are still needing some questions answered, don't hesitate to email me. Anita White, loveyourart@gmail.com. Okay, let's try this out, guys. Here we go. I don't know. I hate it when it does all of that beautiful coloring at the end. That happens on a regular for a lot of people. That's wiping all that beautiful color coming toward the end. I think it has a lot to do with where you apply your pressure. Try it again. Okay, yeah. Got to wipe your swiping tool off in between each wipe. Can't just go back with the same Cell Activator on there. Hey, wow, that's cool. It's giving us a different type of effect in these cells, that's for sure. Okay, we got quite a few cells there, and I'm sure more will come out. But in the interim, I'm going to take my toothpick and do some wrecking. And I want to get into the color over here that I missed. Let's put that back. I also want to get into some of the green that I missed here. All right. Anything else? Oh, maybe here. All right. This one has a lot more negative space on it. I'm going to raise it up and tilt it just a little bit to pull it toward the center, just a little bit. Okay. And then I think I probably will do a little bit more wrecking here. You can do as much as you like or as little as you like. All right, that's good for now. We're going to get our little spinner running. So we're going to go to the opposite direction as well. Again, trying to keep paint from coming off the gloves onto the tile. All right. Okay, let's keep this moving. All right. And we're moving it a little bit more. I want to spin it to get some of those swirls out to the edge. And they're moving there. You probably will have a much more stable situation. I'm trying to make this work for the video's sake with the spinner that I'm currently using in the tub so that I don't have such a mess to clean up. And so far, I think it's accomplished what I intended to do, and that is just give you a good look of what we have here. You can see. Okay. And we'll take this one off. And hopefully now you have a pretty good idea of what you can do. Here you go. We'll set that on the outside. And there we have it. All right, so I am going to continue with a few more of these. That one in particular we used the permanent blue violet as a cell activator. We use black here, we use black here. I'm going to use copper and white on my next ones, but because this video is already so long, I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. Thank you so much for joining me in this wonderful, fun time of making a big, big mess, but fun mess. I hope it's been helpful to you. Again, like and subscribe if you haven't done so. Also, leave a comment, questions if you have any, and let us know what you think. I'm trying to do my best to provide this information as quickly and concisely as I can, and the length of the video is necessary in order to get that information across, especially for people who are new. So those of you who are more skilled and more experienced, thank you for your indulgence. Until next time, keep loving your art, and we will see you guys on our next video upload. Bye now.